A few hundred yards from the runways of the world's busiest international airport, the protesters have started to arrive. Dozens of environmental campaigners have set up camp on the fringes of Heathrow. Their protest against the effects of aviation on climate change is due to last just over a week.
It will, they promise, be peaceful, but the police aren't taking any chances. There'll be 1,800 officers deployed at the camp over the next 8 days. Today, they made their first visit.
Our reporter Phil Ray-Smith is there tonight. Phil.
Nina, well, officially this camp doesn't open until tomorrow, but all day the tented city has been growing. There are perhaps 200 or 300 protesters here at the moment, but that's nothing to the 1,800 police from 4 separate forces who are on standby in case of any disturbances. And this morning at 7 o'clock, they gave the climate camp a wake-up call.
Protesters had made clear that police weren't welcome on this patch of squatted ground, but when dozens of officers flooded into the site early this morning, they didn't put up much resistance. This was an inspection though, not a raid, police said, and besides, disturbances aren't expected until later in the week. Tents were assembled and equipment brought in. I wanted to find out who exactly the protesters are, but today they weren't welcoming visitors either.
We'd really prefer it if the media stayed sort of just outside the camp.
I think people at home will be quite sympathetic to your cause in many cases, yet they might also be worried if they're travelling from Heathrow this week whether their flights will be disrupted. Can you tell us what's going to happen?
Well, I'm sure there will be some disruption, and just by being here that's causing some disruption, but just so minor really in the big scheme of things, of the disruption that's already caused the villages in this area and the villages, millions of villages throughout the world that are already being affected by climate change.
When was the last time you took a flight to go on holiday?
I take, in the recent years, I've had one flight a year.
One flight a year, and is that acceptable?
To be honest, no, really.
Now, this camp is about half a mile from Heathrow's runways, so in itself shouldn't cause any problems to flights, even if the 3,000 people that organisers have promised do turn up. However, people here say they are planning direct action towards the end of the week, and that's when problems could occur.
The hardcore activists have perhaps the unlikely support of nearby villagers whose homes would be bulldozed if the airport is expanded.
I am supporting them very much if they keep it peaceful. What's wrong? You know, they're helping us.
The question is, how peaceful will it be?
And Nina, I think speculation that direct action could involve hoax suspect packages may be wide of the mark. Certainly people I've spoken to here realise that could be counterproductive. Instead, I think you're likely to see sit-ins, people locking themselves or chaining themselves to the perimeter fence or inside the terminal buildings.
We will see Phil Ray-Smith at Heathrow. Thank you.
And that protest is the subject of today's uploaded debate.
Yes, we asked if you think air travel should be restricted because of climate change. Here are some of the views of our citizen correspondents.
I think if we were to price air travel more realistically, then people would be a little bit more circumspect about taking it and perhaps take public transport. Better use of trains, which is a very efficient way to travel.
Trying to decrease or restrict current levels of air travel is unrealistic. As London becomes more popular and populated, there's obviously going to be an increase in those travelling. What needs to happen is that more investment needs to be given to making aircraft more environmentally friendly by using fuels that are less toxic to the ozone layer.
The effects of climate change. Is it really going to make any difference if we decide to take one flight less? Who's going to monitor how many flights we take? Will it be rationed? And at the end of the day, will it make so much of a dramatic change?